I'm calling it now. Max Holloway is legitimizing the BMF belt. Why? Because he is not like a George Masvidal, for example, who never had UFC gold, or Justin Gaethje for that matter, because he had UFC gold. He is the first BMF champion that is a former UFC champion, and that's a big deal. And he wasn't just any UFC champion. He was one of the greatest featherweight UFC champions of all time. He lost to Volkanovski 3 times, so they say. My personal opinion, I dare you to go watch it back, and you will see those fights were a lot closer than they're talked about now. And I think Holloway won those first 2 fights, me personally. Volkanovski had his little pitter-pat style, running around, but I had Max Holloway winning that fight. Those first 2 fights. The third fight, okay, he got beat up, fair enough, and that's why a lot of us counted him out, including myself, but he turned back the clock, and he showed what he could do up a weight class against the top contender in Justin Gaethje. And that moment right there, by the way, that holy shit moment that Dana White was talking about, he's like, I sell holy moments, etc., etc. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about that. And if you could have that belt on a former champion, it legitimizes it. I'm sorry. And it makes people look at this belt now as more valuable than a UFC belt. And let me explain. Ilia Topuria, for example, he's over here threatening to fight Brian Ortega instead of Max Holloway if Max Holloway doesn't accept the demands. This is exactly what he says right here. He says, I decide who, when, and where. If you don't like the terms, I'm sure Ortega will oblige. This is not a very BMF thing to say. And Max Holloway even calls him out on it, because here Ilia says, without the BMF belt, I don't want him at all. Max says that's not a very BMF way to say it. A BMF wouldn't say, I'm not going to fight this guy unless. That's kind of un-BMF. 100% facts. BMFs transcend weight classes like a Max Holloway. BMFs fight not who you want to fight. They fight who the fans want to see you fight. And not your fans, you know what I'm saying? Not your fans, Ilia Topuria. We're talking about the MMA fans. The sport comes before the fighter, always. The sport comes before the fighter. I'm an MMA fan. I'm not an Ilia Topuria fan. You get what I'm saying? And for me, I want to see Ilia fight the best. And right now, bro, how can you deny that the best is blessed and give Max Holloway another crack at it? If Ilia wins, okay, fair enough. But this is shaping out to be something else. And I will say this. If Max Holloway does fight Ilia Topuria, and the belt's not on the line, BMF, but the real belt is, and Max Holloway wins that, the BMF belt is going to become very coveted. That BMF belt is going to be something special. And I think it already is. I don't even think he has to fight Ilia Topuria. I think you could do a Max Holloway card, UFC 305 for the BMF belt, and then UFC 306, Ilia Topuria for the UFC featherweight belt against Ortega, let's say. And I think the BMF belt will do more pay-per-view buys than Ilia Topuria's UFC featherweight belt. I just think that's what it happens when you put it on a belt, on a guy like Max Holloway that's been a former UFC champion. It legitimizes the belt, and it becomes the holy shit belt, you know what I mean? So that's how I'm feeling about it, and just an early prediction from me. So only time will tell. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you agree, disagree, it does not matter. Just join the discussion. Follow for more. Leave a like if you enjoyed the time spent. Thank you. You are all appreciated.